thinking about moving to Panama or upgrading your residency status, you need to hear this. Panama's red carpet visa just went through some of the biggest changes we've seen in years, and what you think you know about qualifying may no longer be true. These updates could open new doors for investors or close them if you're not prepared. Welcome to the Panama Podcast, from dreaming to doing. I'm your host, Melissa Darnay. If you want insider tips on living, investing, and having a blast in Panama, go to choosepanama.com and snag your free copy of Panama Uncorked. Joining me is Ricardo Ferrudo, one of Panama's most respected immigration attorneys and the person I turn to whenever laws shift. And lately, they've been shifting fast. Ricardo specializes in residency, corporate structures, and investor visas, making him the perfect guide to walk us through what's new, what's improved, and what you need to watch out for. Ricardo, welcome back to the Panama Podcast. Cheers.
Cheers. Thank you for having me.
Ricardo, before we get into the details, can you give us a quick overview of what changed in Panama's red carpet visa program over the last few months?
Yes, you're right. There has been several changes. Recently, the biggest change is that they approved to provide a passport, Panamanian passport, to all the residents.
This is big news, and it's just good for travel.
Yes. So basically, it's a residency. It's not citizenship. So it's like a travel document. So you become an indefinite resident of Panama, and then you will get your residency card, which is similar to a green card. You will get your cédula, which is our local ID, and then you will also get a Panamanian passport with just the same passport as Panamanian citizens have, which is a residency, but it's a travel passport that works for everyone.
Why did Panama decide to make this change?
Well, it's interesting. The passport is something that ultimately everyone doing residency wants, and there used to be a program called the Immediate Passport Program that we have. Well, we still have it, where you did a CD, a time deposit for 5 years in the Panama National Bank, and it would give you this Panamanian passport, which was a travel document. So they grabbed that idea, and instead of having to do that time deposit in the Panama National Bank, which is not that attractive, if you ask me, they added this to the red carpet, making the whole program a lot more attractive to to anyone that already has the indefinite residency and new potential applicants.
And do you think Panama did this to compete on the world stage where other countries are given the golden visas or the golden passports?
Yes, definitely. Right now, if you ask me, the red carpet visa, which is our golden visa, is one of the most attractive, if not the most attractive program out there. Because if you compare with the other big programs in Europe and such, the amount that we have for real estate investment at 300, getting the indefinite residency in less than 2 months, getting the passport is definitely very attractive.
Yeah, because a lot of the other countries charge in the millions.
Yes, it's the amount is higher, and they don't give you an indefinite residency right away. Several, you have to apply, get a temporary, and you have to do another application 1 year after or 2 years after. You have to do many applications to eventually get the indefinite residency.
And another change that's happened is the amount. You just said it's $300,000. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Okay, so it's quite interesting. The amount ultimately hasn't changed. It's still 300. It used to be 300, and it still is 300. Initially, they issued the law in 2020, and the amount was 500,000, and it had a discount to 300,000 for the initial 2 years. So after 2 years, they reviewed it and decided to extend that discount for another 2 years. That term was up in October last year. So instead of renewing it, what they did is they amended the law, made some changes to the procedures and different things, and they established it at 300 And what they put is that this amount will be reviewed every 2 years. So right now it is 300 and it will be reviewed, let's say on October 15th, 2026.
And then for some reason, if it's not reviewed October 2026, then it just stays at 300,000.
Then it just stays at 300 because that's the current amount.
Okay, great. Also, I heard there was a little bit of changes having to do with pre-construction, people who wanted to invest in something that hasn't been built yet. Can you talk about how that works?
Yes, this is a bit complex because initially the law was established that you could buy anything that was ready already in your name, or you could go for a pre-construction option, which is, for me, one of the big perks and benefits also of this category. As the law was initially set up, the only way that you could do it is you have to set up a trust or escrow. You send the 300 plus to the trust or escrow, and from there, the trust and escrow pays the developer as the promise of purchase agreement has the payment structured. And that was the way you were able to apply. Then last year, I guess, getting feedback from developers, clients, etc., they started allowing that to bypass the trust and escrow. It wasn't required. You could just pay directly to the developer the $300,000 if you wanted to, and that would also qualify you for the visa. Now, with the amendment, I think they wanted to kind of regulate this. So let's say there's now two options in pre-construction. When you're doing pre-construction, you can go through the option of I'm going to pay the developer directly, which in that scenario, you have to pay the developer, but it also does say that you have to have paid the whole price. So that part is kind of tricky because if the property, let's say, costs $450,000, then you must have paid the $450,000 to be able to qualify.
And not just the minimum 300,000.
And not just the minimum 300. Then the other part, the developer has to provide a letter saying that they've received the amount. And there's another document that's kind of tricky for developers to get, but basically it's like a guarantee of compliance of the construction letter that has to be provided by the bank who's financing the developer the construction. So when you go towards the pre-construction option, it's very good to consult with your lawyer and everything before you start making the payments so you have everything understand it correctly.
So if a developer can't get that letter for 6 months, that would delay the whole visa application for 6 months.
That delays the whole visa application.
So what that means for you is if you're looking at properties, there really are a list of properties that are acceptable to invest in if you want that right now.
Correct. Then the other option is that you set up the trust, escrow, send the 300 to the escrow as it was initially. In that scenario, they're not requiring that you have paid the complete amount. So let's say if the property is $450,000 and you don't want to have to come out of pocket $450,000 to apply, you can set up the escrow, send $300,000, escrow certifies that they've received the $300,000, and you can move forward with the application.
What's the approximate cost to set up this trust or escrow account?
Generally, I would say like around $3,500.
Okay,
more or less.
That's not bad.
Yeah, it's not bad, and it provides you a good security. I think right now, when doing pre-construction, for me, the clients that set up the trust, or if the developer has a trust, which is the case with some developers, it's so much easier to apply. It's so much quicker to apply than when they go doing the payments directly to the developer.
So, for example, we were talking about the fact that the Westin Residences right next door has that trust already set up. So that's going to be easy peasy if you want the red carpet visa and you also want to buy pre-construction.
Correct. The Westin has a trust for their development, which they figured out a way where you can become like adjacent to the trust. You sign a contract, you pay the Westin trust directly. You don't have to set up your own trust, and you can apply for the visa.
Great, saves $3,500. Buying real estate in Panama isn't like buying back home. What you don't know can cost you. Before you search for properties online that might or might not be as advertised, Go to choosepanama.com/contact and schedule a free 30-minute call. Our white glove service takes the stress out of buying abroad. I've also heard that Panama has tightened their proof of funds law. Can you talk about that?
Well, overall, this is always something that banks are regulating, and the compliance is always required. Whenever you are bringing money to Panama, there always has to be proof of funds, which generally can be provided with tax declarations. If, for example, let's say you sold your property and now are using that money, you can provide a contract of the sale of that property. But you do have to kind of justify where these funds were generated to be just overall for the developer, for the bank who's receiving the money. If you're going to open a bank account, send it to your own bank, the bank will always have to, you always have to do this compliance.
And I think that's banking now. Like in this time now, banking requires a lot of compliance.
Yes.
We've had a lot of different bankers on the podcast recently, and the amount of compliance, whether it's Bitcoin or whether it's getting a visa, it's the same compliance, making sure that the money's clean. You know where it came from. The government knows where it came from.
Correct.
Basic things. If you have nothing to hide, easy peasy.
Yes, but it does feel kind of like the proof. You are guilty until
Proven
innocent.
innocent.
Kind of. It's the way it's become. You have to kind of show that the money's legal. It's like the assumption is that it's not until you show
Prove
that it is.
Let's go back to the red carpet visa and talk about processing times. When this first came out, everyone was amazed because it was going to take 30 to 45 days. Is that processing time still realistic?
Okay, so the important thing to understand is that it's two institutions. So we first have to apply at the Ministry of Commerce, and they are the ones that have the red carpet visa office, and they issue a certificate of investment. That certificate of investment that certifies that you've met the requirement. And then when we get that, we can go to immigration to apply for the residency. The processing time at the Ministry of Commerce has become a little slow, but because there's a lot of volume of applications now, it's a very popular product. It's a very popular residency category. So I would say it's around 2 weeks, more or less. Sometimes it can be 3 weeks at the Ministry of Commerce. And then you go to immigration. And in immigration, it is 30 business days. But 30 business days is closer to 2 months, 60 calendar days. So I would say overall, when clients ask me, the average time when you have all the requirements is 2 months.
The next question about the red carpet visa is who qualifies for it and when can investors start applying?
Well, the good news is everyone qualifies for it. So the red carpet visa is open for all nationalities as long as you meet the investment requirements, which in real estate is $300,000 or more. It's not limited like the Friendly Nations visa where you have
from a certain country.
Correct. You have to be from a certain country to then qualify for that category, even if you do the investment. The red carpet visa is for any type of nationality. And there are nationalities, and this is interesting because there are nationalities such like, for example, people from India or China, certain other countries that have restricted visa that unless you have like a tourist visa to go to the US, Europe, Canada, England, Australia, or Japan, you can't just travel to Panama. You have to ask for an approval, which is very difficult to get. So on those nationalities, you can buy a property without coming to Panama, do the process, and then when you're a resident, we send you the resolution and you can travel freely to Panama and come get your residency. So it's very open, and that also creates a larger market of interest.
That's a great perk.
Yeah.
2 questions associated with this. First of all, are you seeing a bigger influx now that this rule has changed with the new passport? And secondly, what's the downside? Where are people getting tripped up?
Overall, I would say that the increment in applications has been gradual in the last 3 years and rising like heavily. Right now, I think the red carpet visa is the mostly sought after residency category that we do. And the passport has definitely incremented the interest of clients. Clients that already have it, clients that are in process, and new clients. The most asked question that I get initially is about the passport now.
And it's interesting to me because some of my clients that I've sent to you that really could qualify for another visa, for example, the Pensionado visa,
Correct.
which is a cheaper visa to get,
Yes.
but they're choosing to do the red carpet visa because of that passport.
Well, now it's something to consider.
Right.
Before the passport, for me, it was, even if they had bought the property at 300, I would say, just do the pensionado because it's cheaper in processing. And, if you qualify for that, there's no need to do this other one. But now it's something to consider. Well, in this one, you won't get a passport. If you are interested in the passport, you have to do the red carpet.
If someone is interested in applying in 2026, what should they do first to prepare?
They have to buy the property.
So first thing you do is you call me.
Yes, I think that's the number one first step that they have to do is definitely whether it's pre-construction or something on the market, but definitely start looking at real estate. When they're interested, they can do a meeting with me and I'll guide them. I'll give them all the ins and outs and the details. But ultimately, until you kind of know what you're buying or starting in the process, there's not much for me to do. And while you are in the buying of the property process, you can then work on getting the requirements such as a police background check, marriage certificate, birth certificate, and all that. The rest of the requirements are obtained here with the investment.
One of the things I think is really interesting because so many people now are self-educating
Yeah.
about the different options available. So I'll get on a call with a potential client and first thing they'll be like, I need to spend $300,000 because I'm getting the red carpet visa, or I need to spend $200,000 because I'm getting the Friendly Nations visa. So we can't look below that.
Correct.
And I love that people are learning what they need to do.
Well, and that's one of the things how powerful these type of podcasts are, because the main thing, if you ask me, that has changed from clients 5 years ago to today is that most of my clients, when they contact me now, are so much more educated on the process, the requirements. And now you start going more into their specifics, their own specific dynamic
right.
with their family situation and this and that. You're not starting from nothing.
From scratch.
Yeah. Like explaining, yes, we have a product and these are the ins and outs.
Right. Do you think there are any circumstances where the red carpet visa is not a good fit?
Not really. I mean, just if you qualify for the pensionado, I still think that I would recommend the pensionado unless you really want the passport or are from a nationality that needs a passport. Otherwise, the red carpet visa, I think, is the best fit for all sorts of nationalities. It works as a plan B for people from countries that are just want to get a second residency just in case. It works very well from people who don't have global taxation and just want to move out from their country to a country that has a better tax deal, let's put it that way, for their residents and citizens, such as Panama. So I think it works for everybody.
If you could give one single piece of advice to a potential red carpet visa applicant today, what would it be?
So first, find a good realtor. And second, I think the most important thing is about the payments and the money and how you're making payments. I wouldn't go out before meeting with me or another lawyer that knows the process really well and assists you with the contracts and making sure that you do the payments and everything in order so you don't make a mistake. Like, for example, as I described previously, if you're going to buy pre-construction and you pay directly to the developer, and let's say you already paid $150K to the developer, and then you contact me and you're like, yeah, I want to make another 150, but I want to start right now. And I'll be like, wait, you didn't do the trust, but the property's $450, you have to pay. So to avoid those things before you start sending money to the developer, I do think it's good that you do the meeting with the lawyer, understand all the ins and outs so there are no mistakes made and you make the right decisions.
Great advice. If someone wants to get in touch with you, how do they do that?
Well, you can just contact me, our website, denfablaw.com, personal email, ricardofaraudo@denfablaw.com. I try to be very diligent answering my emails, send you the information, and generally the idea is to coordinate a Zoom call and get started.
And I'll have all of those both on the screen and in the show notes in case you missed any of those. Ricardo, thank you so much for walking us through the latest updates. Your insight, as always, is invaluable for anyone trying to navigate Panama's new immigration landscape. Panama's red carpet visa remains one of the most powerful residency programs in the region, if not the world. But the rules have changed, and understanding those changes is key to avoiding delays, extra costs, or missed opportunities. With lower barriers for real estate, higher standards for financial investments, and the introduction of a brand new investor passport, this visa is evolving quickly. If you're considering Panama as your next chapter, now is the time to get clear guidance and take strategic action. Thanks for joining us. See you in Panama. Cheers.
Cheers.